Namaste viewers from all over the world. Welcome to this another evening session for celebrating a month-long festival on account of birth and life of Adi Shankaracharya. Today we have got privilege of hearing with Professor V. Krishnamurthy on Innermost dialogue from God to man. I will start by chanting a few verses and then request Professor V. Krishnamurthy, Professor VK as he is popularly called, to start his lecture. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru-Parampara. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Professor V. Krishnamurthy, ex-director of K.K. Birla Academy, New Delhi, was formerly deputy director and professor of mathematics at BITS Pilani for more than 2 decades. His mathematical career for half a century includes writing of several books on mathematics at all levels. His spiritual journey started since boyhood through the training and mentoring by his father, Sri Vishwanath Shastrigal, a scholarly exponent of and an example of an ideal Hindu way of life. Professor VK has given several lectures to Indian and American audiences on Hindu scriptures. He is known for precision, clarity, and an irresistible appeal to the modern mind. Even at an advanced age of mid-90s, he has been writing and publishing books mostly in the area of Sanatana Dharma. His recent books include Thus Spake Krishna, Thoughts of Spiritual Wisdom, Meet the Ancient Scriptures of Hinduism, Wiser Sanskrit Maxims Explained, and The Primer of Spirituality. Indica Academy has awarded him Grateful to Guru Award in 2019. Professor VK has kindly agreed to take a few questions after the lecture. I would now request Professor VK to start his lecture. Over to you, Professor VK.
Thank you. Om Vagishadya Sumanasakha Sarvarthanam Upakrame. Is my voice correct? Is my voice coming well?
Yeah, it is coming well.
Okay. Vagishadya Sumanasakha Sarvarthanam Upakrame. Yam Natva Kritakritya Srihutam Nama Nikajananam Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru-Paramparam Yoginam Vishwanathakyam Asmattata Swarupinam Atmalabhat Param Labham Vakta Aram Nakadachana Gita Artha Grantha Katharam Shri Gurum Pranamamyam Yonta Pravishyame Vacham Dhritim Buddhim Prachodayat Vande Shambhamumapatim Suragurum Vande Jagatkaranam Vande Pannagabhushanam Mrigadharam Vande Pashunam Patim Vande Sugya Shashanka Vaninayanam Vande Mukunda Priyam Vande Bhakta Jana Ashrayancha Varadam Vande Shivam Shankaram Om Namah Sabhabhyas Sabhapatibhyas Chavo Namah. Friends, I am grateful to Indica Academy and the Global Festival of Oneness third round for also granting me a place to talk about what I think known to me. My topic today is Innermost dialogue from God to man. There is nothing new except that I have given it a new name. What I am going to talk is just the last 18 slokas in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which end with Sarvadharman Parityajya. Sarvadharman Parityajya is sloka number 66. So what I am going to talk is from 49 to 66 of the 18th chapter. Of these 18 slokas, the first 8, 49 to 56, constitute a capsule summary of the entire Gita up to that stage by Krishna himself. This summary is certainly very understandable if one has read the Gita a few times with meanings. This summary is very authentic, of course, and so very valuable as an overview. First, there are 3 things mentioned there in the summary. Asakta buddhi, jitatma, vigatasprugaha. Asakta buddhi sarvatra, jitatma, vigatasprugaha. Naishkarmya siddhim paramam, sanyasena adhigacchati. Asakta buddhi, complete total absence of attachment. Jitatma, control of outer self and the senses. Vigatasprugaha, no desire, absence of desire. These 3 constitute the fundamental prerequisites of any uprise in spirituality. They lead to Naishkarmya Siddhi, actionlessness, which is the sine qua non for spirituality. Even in the 4th chapter, Tyaktva karma pala sangam nityatrupto nirashrayam karmanyabhipravrittopi naiva kinchit karoti sagam. Tyaktva karma pala sangam. Tyaktva karma pala sangam. Discarding all attachment to the fruits of actions. Nityatruptaha, always satisfied because he is not leaning upon anything. Nirashrayaha, not leaning upon anything. Nityatriptaha, he has no desires. Karmanyabhipravrittopi, even if he is doing action, no action touches him. Do all your actions. Distance yourself from the thought of possession of the results so that you are leaning upon nothing. This takes you to a steady practice of Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana Yoga Paro Nityam Vairagyam Samupashridaha. Next sloka. I am going through the 18 slokas in a certain order. This takes you to a steady practice of Dhyana Yoga with a total control over speech, body and mind. Yatava Kayamanasaha. Sloka number 52. With such a dispassion over the ego and its associates of thoughts of possession, you become ready for being in Brahman. Brahma bhuvaya kalpate. Dhyana yoga paro nityam vairagyam samupashridaha. Ahankaram balam darpam kavam krodam parigraham vimuchya nirmama shanto Brahma bhuvaya kalpate. That is the next sloka. That is ahankara balam darpam. Ahankaram balam darpam kamam krodam parigraha is possession of thought of possession. All these, if you avoid, you are already earmarked for Brahma Bhava. Thus prepared for Brahma Bhava, you will now be blessed with intense bhakti. Samasarveshu, because Brahma Bhava gives equanimity. Samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param, he says. So the bhakti comes after all this automatically. This sloka 1854, which says, Brahma bhuta prasatnatma madbhaktim labate param. So once that bhakti comes, then automatically everything else is going to follow. This is the sloka number 54, 55, 56. According to my understanding, the whole of the Gita These three shlokas are most important because people are usually worried. They constantly ask questions about, sir, in order to get jnana, absolute knowledge about Brahman, should we have bhakti or should karma yoga? What should we do? How can they be done together? Or is jnana before bhakti or bhakti before? All sorts of questions. So they are scientifically minded, so they ask questions as if they will get a scientific answer. No, nothing. Here it says, the Lord says, Krishna, Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvataham. Bhakti, the para bhakti, Bhaktya mam abhijanati, he knows, yavan yaschasmi tatvataham. How I am, what I am, who I am. Yavan yaschasmi tatvataham. Tato mam tatvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. Having known me by that way, the complete Brahman. Sir, how to know Brahman? Shall we read the Upanishad? Upanishad says you cannot understand it from words. So these are questions which constantly rise in the minds of readers, seekers of spirituality. Here it says very clearly, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. What do we, mam abhijanati, Bhaktya, by bhakti, I am known. What is it that we are going to know? What is it that we are going to see? Brahman has no form. What is it that we are knowing? So, I can tell you what it is. Transcendence, immanence. Transcendence is everything, transcending everything. Immanence means he is in everything, immanent. And transcendence, immanence, and perfection. Everything is perfect. These are the three things. There's a beautiful sloka in Vaidyanatha Ashtakam. Vedanta Vidyaya Jaganmayaya Yogishwara Dhyaya Padambujaya Trimurti Rupaya Sahasranamne Shri Vaidyanathaya Namah Shivaya. So, Vedanta Vidyaya, Vedanta, only by Vedanta, the end of the Vedanta, transcending the Vedanta, you will know him. Jaganmayaya, he is immanent in the universe. Yogishwaradhyaya Padambujaya, his lotus feet is so perfect that Yogishwara, yogi people, yoga, they meditate on it. Don't ignore your duties, therefore. Sarva karmanyapi sadam kurvano matmipashrayam. Sarva karmanyapi, all karmas, you must be keeping doing. That is why mat prasadat param shantim you get. This is parabhakti. Parabhakti is not the bhakti that you and I have in an ordinary world parlance. Saying shlokas, going to the temple, doing puja, and reading ritual scriptures. That's of course the first step to bhakti. But the parabhakti is so infinite kind that very few people in historical times have shown this to us. I will name three people only, though there are more. I will name three people. One is Adi Shankara himself. Other is Narayana Bhattacharya, who did the Narayanayam. And the third is music genius Saint Tyagaraja. Bhattacharya says, Sheyo Margeshu Bhaktavadikavasamu Bahumate Janma Karmani Bhuyom Koyan Shemani Naman Tadupayata Pradrutam Pradrutatma Udyatha Sat Kadachit Kokachi Deapedutam Koswapikarjan Pragayam Unmadi Vapandratyanna Ikuru Karunam Lokabashchareyam. Oh God, bestow on me that bhakti. What bhakti? That bhakti where each remembers the names of God and the actions of God and the glories of God and gets so involved in it that Udyat hasak, sometimes I laugh, sometimes I cry, sometimes I dance, sometimes I behave like a madman because of the influx of the glories of God in me. Give me that bhakti, says Bhattatri to Vatapurisha, Guruvayurappan. This is para bhakti. Deign to bestow on me that bhakti, he says. In fact, the gopis had that bhakti. The gopis, one of those gopis, example, she was selling curd. So she should be shouting, curd for sale, curd for sale. Instead of that, you know what she did? Because she was so full of the Lord in her mind, thought and deed, she was saying, Govinda Damodara Madhava. Instead of saying curd for sale, she was selling Govinda Damodara Madhava. Vikretu Kaba Tilagopa Kanya Murari Padar Pita Chitta Vritti, Murari Padar Pita Chitta Vritti. Her mind was so involved in the lotus feet of Murari, Bhagavan Vishnu, Krishna. So Dadyadikam Moha Vashada Vochati Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Yeah. Later Sanskrit poet called Bilva Mangala Acharya caught upon this sloka. He was so much influenced by this that he did a whole stotra of several slokas. All of them ended with Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. Just one. Sri Krishna Damodara Bala, Sri Krishna Bharadha, Sri Gopala Govardhananatha Vishnu. Don't think, oh tongue, he is telling us, he is telling all humans, oh tongue, don't think that sweets are sweet. There are something sweeter than that. Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, and so on. It goes. In fact, Bhattatri has not only this shloka, he has got Dana, Homa, Vrata, Yoga, or anything. That is, Aikyam Tedana Homa, Vrata, Niyamatava, Aikyam Tedana Homa, Vrata, Sankhya Yoga. That is, neither the Dana, Homa, Vrata, Sankhya, Yoga, all these things are supposed to be great rituals. But the gopis never did any of these things. So Sangena, just by association with you, they became great. Give me that kind of bhakti, says Bhattatri in that slogan. So it is this Paravasakti. By such devotion alone, one comprehends Yavan Yasyasmi Tattvataha. Yavan Yasyasmi Tattvataha. Usually, we go to temples and we ask God. We pray. What do we pray? Our prayers are all petitional prayers. We want this, we want that, we want this. That's all. So it is petitional prayer. This petitional prayer has to be supported by an intense devotion. We don't ask this bhakti from Lord because we think that we have it. Here our free will comes into play. We think that we have it. No, we have to ask for it, right? Bhakti means the decision to go back to the source, knowing full well that that is the royal road to the goal of spirituality. In fact, the Lord himself, at one point in the Gita, regrets agony of God. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani cha Arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mantu vedana kaschana. Arjuna, I know the past, I know the present, I know the future of all the people, but nobody seems to know me. Mantu vedana kaschana, 5th chapter. So then, the mind, if it attaches to God, automatically liberates. The thesis here is that such a mind is already in the transcendence experience of bliss. Shankara has a sloka on this. Kanchit kala mamamahesha bhavata pavdara vindachanai, kanchit avechanai chanatibi, kanchit kada karnanai. Are sometimes I worship your lotus feet, sometimes in meditation, sometimes in concentration, sometimes in offering obeisance, sometimes in listening to stories about you, sometimes in looking at your form, sometimes in singing your praise. He who gains such a state, in exaltation, having surrendered his mind to you, is he not already a Jivan Mukta? So, bhakti, if it goes to that parabhakti stage, automatically leads to moksha. So, having said all this about bhakti, as Sankwanam for understanding him, Yavan Yashasmi Saputaha, how I am, now he starts, Krishna starts his innermost dialogue of 10 slokas 57 to 66. 10 slokas to Arjuna, and through him to all of us. Remember, the speaker here is not just our local guru or favorite deity. No. He is the one and only witness in ourselves. He is our Sakshi. He is the Adhyaksha. He is the Antaryami. He is the inner resident. Anumanta, Upadrashta. He is there in us. On the outer side, he is our boss. Only such an entity can speak in the way he is going to speak now. You see, what he speaks is deeper and deeper, denser than any other deity or any other ritual can tell you. This is where the dialogue becomes innermost. He says to Arjuna, Machitta satato bhava, Machitta satatam bhava. Always be involved in your mind. Let it be in me. Machittaha satatam bhava. And immediately he wants him. Yes, sata atachetvam ahankara nasroshasi vinakshasi. If by ahankara you will not listen to me, you are lost. If you don't listen to this because of your ego or ahankar, you are totally lost. It's a kind of a shapa. So he continues in this statement, in this train, for two more slokas, 59 and 60. That is, Yadyahankaramashritya nayotseti manyase. By resorting to your ahankara, if you think you don't want to fight, he is telling Arjuna, Yadyahankaramashritya nayotseti manyase, mithyaishavyashayase. That determination, that decision is mithya, is an illusion. It's not going to happen because your prakriti will goad you. Your prakriti will goad you. Subhavajayana kaunteye nivaddhasvena karmanam. Kattum nechasyan mohati karishyasya vashav pitate. By your subhava, by your purva karmas, if you decide on something and think that you don't want to do it, you are going to do exactly what you did not want to do. Kartum nechase yanmoha, shloka number 60. Kartum nechase yanmoha karishyasya avashopitate. You will do it in spite of your will. That is when he tells Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe Junadrishti. That is the shloka 61, great famous shloka, where he says, don't think that you are not being watched. I am sitting there. Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hrideshe Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayan Sarvabhutani. He is revolving everybody like a puppet. Right? So, surrender to me, he says. Sarvabhavene tameva sharanam gaccha. Sarvabhavena bharate. Surrender to him. Sarvabhava. Sarvabhava means kayena, manasa, vacha. All bhava, all things. So here the Parabrahma, Brahman himself is asking you to surrender to him. And who is being asked to surrender to him? Jiva. And what is this Jiva? This Jiva now, after all, the Gita has now broken away all the shackles of bondage and has understood that his apparent individuality is nothing other than the everlasting Amsha of that Parabrahman. Jiva Bhuta Mamayavamsho Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, 15th chapter. Everything is my Amsha. Your Jivaloka, Jiva is only one atomic portion of myself. So the one who is accepting the surrender is known as the Brahman, and the one who is giving, who is going to surrender, is the Jiva who has broken away all the shackles. You see, when we were originally introduced to this Brahman in our Vedantic study, we were told that it is impossible to imagine, it is difficult to send in words, and so on. So we thought it is far away from us. But later, people told us, the Vedanta teachers told us that it is the mind power, your mind power, Shakti, which transcends all material existence. It is actually a light which is your consciousness, self-luminous. So what we have here is the one little existence and the big capital existence. This little existence wants to go and merge with that big existence. That big existence is ready to take you. That is what this dialogue for. That the big existence is ready to take you. This union, this absorption of the little existence in the big existence is the surrender talked about in sloka number 66. The underlying secret here consists of two things. One is renunciation. Another is transition. Sir, what is this? Because there are two things to be done. A renunciation and a transition. What is a renunciation? You have to renounce the I am idea. I am. That idea has to be renounced. It has to be a transition to the idea, I am the absolute. So ahamasmi, from ahamasmi to aham brahmasmi. So this renunciation has to be complete so that the transition may be absolute. How is the renunciation be complete? Yasya naham kato bhavo buddhir yasya nalipyate, 18th chapter. Whoever has the I have not done this, it is not my action attitude, really, then hattopi sa iman lokan nayam hantina nanyate. Even if he kills the whole world, he has not killed. You see, the actionlessness, naham karta attitude. So that has to sink in. Then only the renunciation will be complete. In fact, the Gita has various methods of telling you all this. In the 5th chapter, I think it is the 5th chapter, yes. 5th chapter, I think sloka number 13 or so in. Sarvakarmani manasa sanyasyat ste sukam vashi. Sarvakarmani manasa sanyasyaste sukam vashi. Navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvan nakarayan. All actions, sarvakarmani, manasa sanyasya, having renounced by the mind, sanyasya, aste, sits, sukam vashi, sits comfortably. The one who has controlled his senses sits where? Navadvare pure dehi, in the nine-goated body. Nine-goated body, he sits. Remember, aste, aste means sits. It's a very powerful word. In Vedanta, in that sloka, only once it has been used. Aste. Do we ever say, I sit in the body? I sit in a chair, I sit in the sofa, I sit in my car, but I never say I sit in my body. But that says, Aste Navadware Puredehi. He who sits in the nine-gated body, Naiva Kurvanakar, and he's not doing anything. So this sitting in the body is a very apt description of the renunciation of the BMI. Why do we not say I sit in the, we never say sit in the body, we say my body. Because when I say I sit in the chair, I know the chair is different from me. When I say I sit in the car is different from me. But I never say I sit in the body, because the body, according to me, is not different from me. That is the wrong attitude that we have developed from ages. So that is it. Therefore, the aste, sukham aste, sarva karmani manasa sanyasya sukham aste sukham vashi navadware puredehi. If you can really feel it, you have already reached the goal of spirituality. So you see, we have to learn this difference between the body and the self from sages like Ramana Maharshi. He was sage Ramana as a boy of 12. He wrote, this body is now going to Arunachala. He wrote that letter in the letter to his mother. This body, he did not say I am going. This body is now going to Arunachala. So you must know, you must be able to differ, see the distinctness between the BMI and yourself. So this much for renunciation. So renouncing means this. Now transition. And the Lord says, Machitta Sakatam Bhava. Always keep me in your mind. Buddhi Yogam Upashchitya, he says. Buddhi Yoga, Buddhi Yoga. Well, what is Buddhi Yoga? We go back into the Gita and search. In the second chapter, 3 times the Buddhi Yoga has been explained. 3 times. Buddhi Yukto Jagati hai, Ubhe Sukruta Duskrute. Buddhi, remember, we think second chapter is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is only externally. Internally, it is Buddhi Yoga chapter. Because Buddhi Yukto Jagati hai, Ubhe Sukruta Duskrute. Whether you do good, whether you do bad, everything has to be thrown away. Why Buddhi Yukta? Buddhi has to come into the picture. You see, the mind cannot do anything. Mind simply receives. Mind is simply a destination, that's all. Everything comes and stays there. But it is the Buddhi that has to be used discretion, analyze. So that is why Buddhi Yukto Jahati hai. Buddhya Yukto Yayapatha Karma Bandham Prahashyasi. Another sloka in the second chapter. Buddhya Yukto. If Buddhi, intellect, if intellect is coupled with the mind, then that is what I say. Durena Shavaran Karma, Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya. Karma is great, of course. Action, karma, karma yoga is great. But Durena Shavaran Karma, Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya. From Buddhi Yoga, karma is far below. So then, that Buddhi, so the Buddhi Yoga, so Shloka, what Shloka is that? That Buddhi Yogam Upashityam. Shloka number 59. Shloka number 59. Buddhi Yogam Upashityam. Machitta Satatam Bhava. So, Machittaha. So, what he prescribes is a spiritual current which makes the senses stationed in him and him alone. Him, capital Him, H. So hereafter the journey of this jiva is his journey. Whatever happens is because of his prompt. Nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin, said Krishna in the 11th chapter. Nimitta matram. For me, you are only an instrument. You are not doing anything. Nimitta matram bhavasavya sachin. So the separate individuality of the jiva has vanished. Naturally, the ego type of feeling that I am doing everything is also gone. So that is where the sloka Ishvara Sarvabhutanam comes. He is hidden by our ignorance. He is shining in the glory in our self-knowledge. It is He who is residing in us, as well as the universal self. Right? This is equivalent to when He is residing in the self and you have identified yourself with Him. It is equivalent to the overcoming of Maya also, Maya happenings. So this is the yoga of living. This is the Machitta Satato Bhava, Nimitta Matram Bhava. This is the life of living as His Karanam. We are only His Karanam, instrument. Sarva Bhavena, all Kayena Manasa Vacha, I told you. This is the undeluded. Asammudaha, 14th chapter. Asammudaha, you are not deluded by anything else. It is His light, power, love, grace that shines through our jiva and the body in every one of our cells. This makes us cross over all the ups and downs of the apparent existence and lands us in the eternal blissful existence. This apparent existence, small e, that blissful existence, capital E, right? So that is why it is called Guhyatamam, the greatest secret, Guhyatamam. He has already used Guhyatamam in two other places earlier, but now he is giving it as a final message. Sarva Guhyatamam Bhuyaham. I am telling you now, Sarva Guhyatamam, most personal message. What is this? The Supreme transcends all dharmas and its opposites. Dharma, adharma. When you say Sarva Dharman Parityajya, not only Dharman Parityajya, Adharman Parityajya, but the conduct of the world and the universe, of course, goes by according to certain specified rules and its traditions. So the Lord in our life shows us dualities of knowledge and ignorance, good and bad, pleasure and pain, happiness and sorrow, punya and papa, whatnot. And also the absence of these dualities. He is beyond all these, both the dualities and the absence of dualities. If only we can become one with Him, that is a permanent release, moksha. This is the secret of all secrets. Guhyatamam. Guhyatamam. So this concordance with the Supreme is the topmost dharma. To get to this topmost dharma, you have to discard all other dharmas. Sarva dharman parityajya. To reach this dharma, we have to discard all other dharmas. This is the Sharanagati. It is the Chit Shakti that is showing up now. It is all knowing. It absorbs our knowledge and also ignorance and clears them of their inabilities. Sarva dharman parityajya. So it converts everything into an eternal light of consciousness, which is capable of generating absolute purity. Absolute purity. The apaswaras, we had so many bad tunings in our system. All the apaswaras in our mental system have all been properly tuned now. This is the Sarva Dharman Parityajya and converted into an everlasting, blissful tune. This is the yoga. This is the yoga which has transcended all yogas, which has merged us into a sea of eternal bliss and nothing else. Even the yoga mayas of the Lord have been overcome. The dharmas that are followed now are the very dharmas of the Lord, which have already been originated from Him. That takes us to the end of the story. I am glad that I have been able to pass something of, I think, interesting to you. If you have any questions, I shall try to answer them. Thank you. Swasti prajabhya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahisha gobrahmanebhya shubhamastu nityam lokas samasta sukhino bhavantu. Shreyo bhuyat sakala jananam. Shreyo bhuyat sakala jananam.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor VK. Thank you. It was really very enlightening for me personally for taking a totally different angle for those 10 shlokas or 15, 12 shlokas from 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Thank you. I will request viewers to type the questions in question and answer box. As of now, I don't have any question from any viewer, but we will wait for some time. In the meanwhile, perhaps...
if there are no questions, sometimes it means two things. Either they have understood everything, or they have not understood anything.
I think this particular topic of Jnanottar Bhakti and Parabhakti is really very, very important topic, because after achieving or after realizing the Abheda between the Jiva and Brahma, and there is still life left, and still life left as a Dehadari. That is to be utilized for the purpose of Jnanottar Bhakti. So that's what they popularly call as Jnanottar Bhakti. It is really very difficult. I have two, three questions now. The first question is, how does one connect to the Almighty? Will meditation help or be in silence?
How does one connect to the Almighty?
Yes. Will meditation help or be in just silence?
Meditation will certainly help. The entire 6th chapter is about that. But I will tell you, because I have been talking about bhakti in this, I will tell you there are thousands and thousands of prayers, shlokas, both in Sanskrit and various languages, prayers composed by great people, great devotees. Take any one of them or a few of them, try to absorb it, try to understand it, get the meaning of it if the language is different from yours. Keep repeating it, but living in the meaning. It is not repetition, but only the words, the meaning. So the meaning will make you stop at that point and absorb it. That is how faith has to be developed. Automatically, by repeating these slokas, the ordinary bhakti will finally go to very near Parabhakti.
The next question is there a clarity available to show that absolute, it must be right, absolute right is the final truth?
Say it again.
Is absolute right the final truth?
Is absolute?
Right. Yes, type right, but I think it must be right. Is there any clarity available to show that the absolute right is the final truth? Absolute. Perhaps he's asking, what is absolute final truth?
What is the final truth?
Yeah.
What is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ekameva advitiyam brahma. That is the absolute truth. Ekameva advitiyam brahma. Ekam eva advitiyam brahma. Ekam is one. Eva is only. One only. Advitiyam, no second. Right? So there is only one. There is nothing of that kind. Only, there is no second. Advitiya, there is nothing other than that one. Ekameva advitiyam brahma. So that is the final absolute. We have this parabhakti. Samasarveshu bhuteshu madbhaktim labate param. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yashasmi tatputaha. The yavan yashasmi tato mam tatputo jnatva vishate tadamantaram. By learning, by realizing that in truth, he enters me. He is one with me. he says.
Okay, next question is, even after realizing the truth, the Vyavaharik Satya still exists and the suffering continues. What is the way out of physical pain?
You see, physical pain and the bodily discomforts and mental discomforts, all these things are prarabdha karma. They happen to that particular jiva because of all the earlier karmas. They have to be experienced. Only prarabdha anubhoktavyam, you have to experience it, then only you will get the complete rise to that Parabrahman. Therefore, there is no such pain. Once the person, the jiva has realized the absolute, there is no body anymore. The pain that comes to the body is not for the jiva. This is very difficult for us ordinary people to understand, right? We have great people like a Kanchi Shankaracharya or Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. These are the Ramana Maharshi. These are the people who have shown us. Ramana Maharshi was able to just be like that when even the surgical operation was going on his back. He was able to do that because that is for the body. I am not the body. That's conviction. So it is no question of, it is no use asking, sir, how is it? How is it? When you reach that point, you will not have to ask that question of a Krishnamurthy or somebody. No,
Yes.
You will realize it. But before that, it's no use asking that question. You have to go to that level. Thank you.
Okay, one more question is that what is the connection between the thought and neurons? I think there is again typo here.
What is it? What's the connection between?
What is the connection between the thought and the neurons in the brain? Neuron.
What is the other word?
Thoughts and neurons.
I don't know about it. I mean, first of all, brain is only of the body. Yeah. The brain dies as soon as the body dies. Okay? Mind works through the brain. Just as the soul works through the body, the mind also is a certain thing. It works through the brain. My brain is the material form of the mind. Mm-hmm. But the intellect also uses the brain to reason and discern. So the brain is only an instrument, a material instrument for the mind and the intellect. I don't know about those neurons and other things.
There is one more question. Is it possible to reduce the effects of prarabdha karma by prayers?
Certainly. By prayers, prarabdha karma can be reduced, but the thing is not so obvious. You cannot say the prayer. I mean, I have read Vishnu Sahasranamam for 108 days. Now all my suffering will be over. It's not going to happen. What the 108 times Vishnu Sahasranamam Parayanam, what that will do is to make you ready to suffer that pain. That is, you will not anymore feel that pain as you have felt it long ago. That is the effect. You cannot say things immediately it is over.
Yeah, that's what prarabdha karmanam bhogat eva kshayah. Yeah. Yes. Can astrological solutions reduce prarabdha karma?
I don't want to dabble into astrology.
Okay.
I don't know anything.
I understand. Okay, thank you, Professor. Thank you. Thank you. I'll wait for a couple of minutes, and if no further question comes, I offer you a Sashtanga Pranipad for the purpose of giving this lecture, and then conclude the session. I'll wait for a couple of minutes. I'll wait for Professor. Is it okay if I wait for a couple of minutes, because I don't see any question in question box?
Certainly.
But I would prefer to wait for a couple of minutes. Okay, somebody wants to get your phone number. If it is not problem for you.
My phone number.
Yeah.
Nitin knows it. He will publish it.
Okay.
Nitin Sridhar knows it.
Okay. All right, sir.
Give it to him.
Yeah. All right, sir. Mahesh ji, you please write to Nitin Sridhar. He will share the telephone number. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor. It was really a great evening, and on my behalf and on viewers' behalf, the Sashtanga Dandavat to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Shreyo bhuviyat sakala jananam.
Yes. Thank you. Viewers, please join Madhavya Shankar Digvijay by Dr. Arvind Rao tomorrow morning. Thank you.
Okay.